Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Poland leads the European Union in terms of the lowest unemployment rate. According to Eurostat, unemployment in February was 3.1%, while the Czech Republic came second with an unemployment rate of 3.2%. Spain, on the other hand, has the biggest problem with 16.1% unemployment rate.
Low unemployment in Poland is the result of a very large age package and a diversified structure of the economy. As a result, Poland is less affected by the pandemic than other European countries. For example, industries that suffered most from the pandemic, such as the tourism and restaurant sectors, are less developed in our country. On the other hand, we supply semi-finished products that are still eagerly bought in the West. The primary reason is the great situation in the economy that we have observed since 2014. This concerned the whole of Central and Eastern Europe. Then came the pandemic and indeed, if not the 60 billion zlotys that the government allocated to freezing the employment level, the problem would be much uglier today. Basically, there are loans given to businesses who have had the pandemic problem, under one condition, to keep employment at the previous level. And, in fact, most businesses maintain their employment in this way. It is the commitment of the government that makes unemployment so low. However, it should be remembered that wages in Poland are still much lower than in richer countries. In a groundbreaking interview for the Gazeta Polska Weekly, Jarosław Kaczyński, the parliamentary majority leader, confirmed that he has no plans for an early election. We are determined to complete this term as a governing formation, but in a coalition, it is always necessary to be prepared for some perturbations, Kaczyński said. Polish media have speculated that the internal clashes in the ruling party will bring about early elections. Law and Justice, in power since October 2015, won a majority again in 2019. However, the pandemic proved to be a hard test for the ruling party. Internal discussion tends to escalate to the point where the opposition smells blood. Polish media are speculating who the next Prime Minister might be. In an interview for the Gazeta Polska Weekly, Parliamentary Majority Chairman and Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Kaczyński cut short the speculation. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki indeed has my support and trust, otherwise he would not serve in this post. My support guarantees him this at the moment, but obviously it may happen in the future that my preference alone will not be sufficient. The Sejm is about to vote on the EU recovery budget that amounts to 260 billion zloty for Poland. Jarosław Kaczyński is afraid that the political calculations of the opposition and coalition groups within the Law and Justice Parliamentary Club might cause rejection of those funds by the Polish Parliament. When we see the various good solutions introduced by the government of Mateusz Morawiecki, it is hardly surprising that President Jarosław Kaczyński assesses this politician's actions well. Prime Minister Morawiecki is as good as the government he runs and the party he comes from. Well, it's not good. He's a fatal Prime Minister. Jarosław Kaczyński stated that his party will not give up power before the term ends and the next election will happen in 2023 according to law. Events might happen that will shorten the term, but to be clear, I do not expect any early elections. All I do is to include such an eventuality. Besides, we are determined to complete this term as the ruling party. Vaccination for all people over 60 years old by the end of April is the new goal of the National Vaccination Programme. Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister's Office, Michał Dworczyk, responding to accusations about accelerated vaccinations in Rzeszów, appealed for the pandemic not to be used as a political battleground. In the next 2 weeks, over 2 million doses of vaccination will be delivered to vaccination points across Poland. Between the 16th and 18th of April, over 300,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be delivered to the country. The priority, however, is to vaccinate all people over the age of 60 by the end of April. We appeal to vaccination officers. We have over 6,500 in the whole country, to bring forward the vaccination date for people over 60 years of age from May to April. We also urge all patients over 68 years of age to whom the vaccination point has not called yet. They should call those points by themselves. On Monday the 12th of April, the registration for people born in 1962 will begin, and then each following day the next year group will be added to the register. In this way, the government wants to register all people born up to 1973 by the 24th of April. The ideal would be to vaccinate the entire population, because that's the only way we can stop the virus from spreading. As for the order of vaccination,
This follows from the availability of vaccines in the country. On Friday, a message appeared on the website of the medical centre from Rzeszów, in which it was announced that on this day and on Saturday, people aged over 55 will be able to get vaccinated without registration. However, the media reported that 30 and 40-year-olds could get vaccinated in Podkarpacia. Some opposition commentators and politicians associate the acceleration of vaccination with the campaign ahead of the upcoming presidential elections in the city. We are a leader when it comes to the chaos of the pandemic in Europe and the world, and also when it comes to vaccination chaos. We demand a specific decision from Prime Minister Morawiecki. The head of the national vaccination programme, Michał Dworczyk, claims that these are insinuations used for political purposes. These are untrue information, either due to ignorance or lack of goodwill. I want to urge everyone who talks about the national immunisation programme to check the confirmed data well. During the conference, the head of the Chancellor of the Prime Minister presented a map of the vaccination level in individual provinces. Podkarpacia can boast an average result. About 17% of the inhabitants are vaccinated. The leader is in the Dolnośląskie province, followed by Kujawian-Pomeranian province, and then Lubelskie-Lubuskie. The Polish Ministry of Health announced 8,245 new cases of coronavirus today. In the last 24 hours, a further 60 people who were diagnosed with COVID-19 have died in hospital. 44,000 tests have been carried out. The worst situation is in the Mazovian, Silesian and Wielkopolskie provinces. Since the beginning of the pandemic, over 2.5 million people have been infected and over 55,000 have died. In Poland, over 6,660,000 vaccinations against COVID-19 have been given. The first dose has been received by over 4,590,000 people, and around 2 million people have received both doses. The Internal Affairs Department of the National Public Prosecutor's Office has sent to court indictments against Prosecutor Andrzej Z., who is accused, among other things, of accepting a bribe of 1 million Polish złotys from Joanna P., known for the programme Królowe Życia, or Queen of Life, in exchange for releasing her husband from detention. The District Prosecutor's Office in Praga Północ in Warsaw is investigating the murder of Anna O., a 75-year-old resident of a tenement house in Warsaw's Praga district. On the 20th of March 2014, the woman had sulfuric acid poured over her. As a result of the injuries she suffered, she died less than 2 months later. The investigation was originally allowed against the undetected perpetrators of the crime. But in February 2019, new evidence appeared which allowed the presentation of allegations of participation of 3 people in the murder, including Adam J. All persons obtained other financial benefits, hindering the investigation in this case. He directed the proceedings to produce untrue evidence to prove that Adam J. was innocent. The alleged crimes are punishable by a penalty of 12 years imprisonment. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.